Hi, my name's Shane. I use she and her pronouns, and this is our 8th session of the Yellow King role-playing game from Pelgrane Press by Robin D. Laws. Today's session was organised through the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. The Gauntlet is an online community that organises, plays, and talks about a whole lot of Indian story games. I think we average about 100 sessions a month or more over the calendar. If you're interested in finding out more or even playing a game with us, which we would love, check out gauntlet-rpg.com. You can also find us on Twitter, on Patreon, all kinds of things like that. I would like to mention, we were kind of joking the other week about how boring it is when people on the Gauntlet talk about how long they've been on the Gauntlet. This is actually my 1-year anniversary on the Gauntlet. In fact, tomorrow, a year ago tomorrow, I got an email from Michael Mendoza asking if I could jump in at the last minute from a waitlist that I was on. I got to play my first game, which was with Brandon, a game of Hit the Streets, Defend the Block. So exciting time for me. And I never looked back. I think that's all that I want to say here. So I'll just ask now the players to introduce themselves and their characters.
Aren't you the host? Aren't you also the host of a Gauntlet podcast?
That is true. A co-host of the Gauntlet podcast. If you'd like to hear my opinions about games, if you can't get enough of that, then check it out, along with some great game designers and players and GMs. So let's just go around. I'll get you to introduce yourselves and your characters, your names and pronouns, and anything else that you want to tell us about yourselves. So, Matthew, do you want to lead? Do you want to go first? Or should I ask someone who was here last week to go first?
I was muted. I'm an idiot. No, wait. So what are we supposed to say if we're not supposed to say how long we've been in the in the Gauntlet?
Anything you want. Something interesting.
Oh, I don't know. It's very early morning for me here. Hi, I'm Matthew. I go by he/him pronouns. I am a writer and critic and pundit about video games. I write on a site called XboxOutsider.com. And today I'll be playing Daigo Karingal. Sorry, Daigo Karingal, a sort of never-do-well who has found himself allied with the cause to reestablish democracy in the wake of the Castaigne-ite. And yes, you did hear a meow, Puppet. That's why I was very distracted throughout that whole spiel, because this boy is just slinging around my calves.
Cool. Can you tell us a bit about like what drives your character?
Oh yeah. So I guess since this is my first time presenting the character on the game, my character's drive is guilt. Spurred on by one of his worst memories. His commander was forced to choose between him and a fellow operative in order to guarantee the success of a mission, and well, he's still here, so clearly that other guy's dead, or other person's dead. And because of that, Cardinal now carries the burdens of survivor's guilt. Reading through the personal memoir of, I believe it was Alphonse, the personal memoirs of Alphonse, Cardinal found a sort of like inspiration in the actions, deeds of Francois Rostand, taking note of Rostand's determination and resolve in every situation. And that kind of resolve is now like something Cardinal aspires to.
Cool. Thank you very much. Puckett, do you want to introduce yourself and Mayhem?
Well, I mean, Mayhem kind of goes without saying. It's Mayhem, right? It's just chaos and... Oh, crap. Character. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I got distracted. Hi, I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. Tonight, I will be playing Marie Mayhem Lancaster. She is... she saw some shit, and it affected her. And she kind of is... She's the kind of person you want on your side in a fight, and that you probably don't want to spend much time around in other situations. She's very diligent about rooting out the last bits of that regime and bringing them to whatever justice she can muster. Sometimes that is a courtroom. Sometimes that is a bullet to the back of the head in a dark alley. And she's more okay with the latter than the former, but she'll do the former when necessary. So yeah, kind of a vigilante, very much a loose cannon. Like pretty much everybody else, traumatized by the experience of living under that totalitarian system. So yeah, good times.
Good times. Thank you. Brandon and Marisa, please.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm playing Marisa Taylor, she, her, who was a young woman with a husband and 2 children and a decent existence in the Castaigne-ite regime. When the activities of someone close to the family came under suspicion, and my entire family was arrested to be interrogated and put to death. I escaped the trap by a whisper, a mere happenstance that I was away from the family home when the secret police came. The resistance found me before the Castaigne-ites did and decided that I could be of use to them. I have spent the last 2 years as a mole inside the Castaigne-ite regime, allowing myself to be courted and finally to marry one of the Castaigne-ite apparatchiks so that I could funnel information to the resistance during the entire thing. Some of my emotions were burned away by the atrocity that happened to my loved ones, and some merely hidden, perhaps to be brought out at some happier time. I'm prepared to do what it takes, including going back deep undercover as necessary to deal with the remaining of the Castaigne-ite allegiances.
So I'm curious about what the outcome of that sort of undercover situation were. So you could go back undercover, so presumably they don't know that you were a double agent yet, or that the Castaigne-ites haven't learned that. Did your spouse survive? What do you want to leave this stuff undefined?
No, where his car was attacked by the resistance, and we were both killed.
Right.
Except, of course, that I wasn't. But that is that was the photographic evidence and such that was left behind. Yeah, I was extracted only at the very, very last minute. To when the Castaigne-ites were becoming paranoid enough to start purging even their own loyal people. That is, in fact, when my husband, fearing for himself from the Castaigne-ite regime, fled. He was afraid that someone was going to denounce him. And instead we were taken by the resistance.
Nice.
He was summarily shot.
Do you want to give us a name for your late husband?
Yes, his name was Henry Bolt, B-O-L-T.
Cool. Thank you. And Nicholas, do you want to introduce yourself and Johnny?
Hi, I'm Nicholas. He, him pronouns. I am playing Johnny, also he, him pronouns. Congratulations, Shane, on the 1-year anniversary. I look forward to mine in 2 months to follow. So that'll be a good time. So Johnny is a code breaker. Definitely looks like someone who belongs at a desk, and definitely the unexpected muscle of the party. Way more effective with his fists than one would expect. Also, questionable history with code breaking. He had a situation where a childhood friend, her husband was on a mission, and the codes that I was creating got cracked, and he died in a horrific manner, and it kind of haunts Johnny.
Cool, thank you. So let me just recap briefly where we're at in the story, or where we left off. So, as we've said, you're agents of the provisional government. 6 months ago, you helped overthrow the viciously authoritarian Castaigne regime. And since then, you've been fighting to defend the sort of emerging democracy of the United States from terrorists who would like to send the country back into authoritarianism. Specifically, you've been assigned to track down a mirror with reputed supernatural properties, although you don't know exactly what those properties are. The case officer who assigned you to do this did not seem optimistic that you would survive, but nevertheless, you are on the trail of a very senior Castaigne-ite figure named Wilde. Last session, Mayhem basically shook down one of Wilde's contacts, a sort of lower level Castaigne-ite running a secondhand bookshop as a kind of front. And you are hoping that this will draw Wilde out. And you returned to your headquarters, your safe house, where you, I think, have met up with Daigo, who was unavailable yesterday, but is a regular part of your team. And you had intercepted a phone call because you tapped the phone in the bookshop, indicating that the plan had worked and that Wilde would be in touch. And not very long after that, you'll receive another phone call. Who answers the phone?
I mean, I was the one giving out the cards with the number on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stands to reason it should probably be me.
All right. So a man's voice on the other end of the phone says, "Is this Mayhem?"
Indeed it is. I take it you're someone who has an issue that needs to be resolved.
Well, in a manner of speaking, you spoke to an associate of mine today, Bo Jordan. He runs a secondhand bookshop.
Ah, yes. Thank you for clarifying. I spoke to a number of associates today.
I have no doubt. I understand that you wanted money from Mr. Jordan.
Well, money in exchange for a service, you see.
Of course. I am currently in the market for a service of a kind that you seem capable of providing. I would like to discuss a job opportunity with you.
You have my full and undivided attention.
I'll meet you at the bookshop. Shall we say an hour?
I think I can be there within an hour. I mean, naturally, if there's trouble, I can be there immediately. But since you're scheduling an appointment, an hour seems reasonable.
There is no trouble. Just a mutually beneficial opportunity.
Certainly. Will you be recognizable? Should I look for someone wearing a red carnation in their lapel, perhaps?
I imagine that I will find you by the large spanner in your hand, from what Mr. Jordan told me.
I do try to be more discreet at times, so. But if you know what you're looking for, I'm rather difficult to miss.
Right. I think we'll find each other just fine.
I look forward to it, Mr.
Wilde.
I'll see you in an hour, Mr. Wilde.
Very good. Well, what do you do?
I hang up the phone, look around the room, and say, "Guess who wants to talk?"
Wilde.
Indeed. In an hour.
But why?
Something about a job. It's irrelevant. We drew him out.
He wouldn't expose himself unless he had something substantial to gain.
Indeed.
What do you think that might be?
He's probably going to ask me to do something that he doesn't expect me to come back from, or something that this might actually be some sort of test to see if I'm worthwhile, to see if I'm worth giving more advanced tasks to. What those might be, who can say?
I can think of a third thing.
And?
He might be going to infect you.
And here I was being optimistic, and I thought that you were going to say that he was just going to try to kill me.
I think he'd have you killed rather than kill you himself.
Perhaps.
Car bomb. Something like
So,
that.
we compartmentalize. Somebody keeps an eye on me. I meet with Wilde. I will stay out of the back reaches of that godforsaken bookshop.
I mean, you also found out last time that people are sort of watching out for the bookshop.
Yes. Yeah, our ability to surveil the bookshop is limited now.
Well,
But we can put a radio. We can give you a radio transmitter.
but isn't this what field glasses are for?
I can watch. We can watch from a telescope with a telescope from a distance, but we won't be able to intervene if anything goes down. I
Yes,
mean,
but
none of us is.
compartmentalized.
I mean, none of us is trained as a sniper.
Perhaps he didn't specifically say to come alone, did he?
No, he didn't. But
Oh.
I have been the one making noise in the neighborhood, and my face is known, whereas everyone else has a certain degree of anonymity and can operate slightly under the radar, except perhaps
And-
for Johnny.
And perhaps one
Yeah.
of us.
I mean, plus, I just look like a desk worker. I could come along and back you up. They'd never suspect.
They wouldn't, but you're also our signals person.
True.
I mean, you're harder to replace than I am.
We are in short supply.
Yes.
We are in short supply of time more than anything.
I don't think it's a matter of who is replaceable in the group so much as who is ideal in this scenario, and which isn't to say I disagree with your assessment, Lancaster. So why not I accompany you incognito, some distance removed? I will not participate in your interactions, but if trouble should come calling, I will be on hand.
Well, we'll have someone watching the front of the bookstore with a scope, and we'll have radio communication to Daigo, who will be nearby but out of sight.
Sounds good.
That's probably the best we can do.
This is out of character, Brandon. This sniper is someone else in the resistance, right?
We don't have a sniper.
I guess we could get one. I think I can use a network roll for that.
So that's probably preparedness rather than network to have access to a sniper rifle. The other mechanic that you might want to engage here is if someone wants to make a general ability test, they can on a success, they'll get a bonus to any fighting rolls that come up if it turns into a fight. That kind of represents your ability to like scope out and prepare for a situation.
You know, I don't mind making that roll, considering that, given the sort of thing that I did, would probably lead me to actually know a sniper who might be in New York.
Yeah, that's that's what I was thinking instead of a sniper
if somebody else
rifle.
wants to make the roll, I certainly don't want to take it away from you.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes, I'm so sorry for being a little. Yeah, I do want to make a network roll to get a sniper.
No, getting a specialist makes more sense. And none of us is trained as a sniper, and a sniper rifle is
of
limited utility. If you
Okay, so I think it's going to be pretty tough to like call up a trustworthy sniper on short notice. I reckon that's probably a difficulty 8 network test.
Ooh, all right, let's put it on 4. You know what? I'm gonna put 4 instead because every time I put 3, it's been bad luck and then causes Brandon to like lose his mind.
Now, there's also an assist element to this, right?
Yeah. So if you want to assist with the roll, you can spend points, but the first point that you spend doesn't add anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
You said
see it.
difficulty 8.
Yeah.
So if you assist, you don't make your own roll. You just pay your points into the pool that the person rolling is using.
And this is for network, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, I
Also
support
3 points
anyone
of that.
doing the rule.
All right. So if you pay 3 points, that'll add 2 points to Matthew's pool.
Yeah. So that
All
brings
right.
it to what, 5? No, 6, because you're putting in 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Plus 6, right? 1d6 plus 6.
Yep.
That is a 10.
Nice. All right. So what's the name of the sniper you recruit? Sorry. What's the name is the worst question.
No. Let's go with Esau Morales.
Sam Morales. Cool. So
I just like mixing names from different cultures together. Like take a Jewish name and a. Oh no, you're right. There's a actor named Esai Morales.
So Morales will be up on a rooftop nearby. Any other preparations that you want to make?
I want to word with him before I go in.
a radio for Mayhem to carry.
Yeah, I think just a difficulty 4 preparedness test for the radio.
Something that can be just snapped open and left open without being obtrusive.
Who'd like to make the preparedness test for the radio?
I mean, I have the most points in preparedness.
Feel free.
You said difficulty 4?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll spend 2. Oh, God damn it.
So you're not able to set up a radio in time.
Okay, I'll have to settle for radio communication between the rest of us. And we'll go with basic hand signals. If you put both hands up over your head, it means shoot.
Actually, I want something a little bit more subtle than that. I mean, considering that this person is a sniper with a scope.
I understand. That's specifically designed to foil, someone pulling a gun on you. So you can do a very natural thing that will cause them to get shot.
Well, you see, that's the thing. I don't want them getting shot. This is the instructions I want to give to Esau.
Okay.
If I give a signal, I want Esau to shoot me. And basically, it's one of those things like 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. 1 means shoot to wound, 2 means put a bullet through my head. Because getting wounded, I mean, that suggests that there's a conspiracy afoot and that I'm not part of it.
Okay. So Esau kind of takes this in. He hasn't worked with you before. And then he's just going to look to Daigo, who he does know better. Say, like, just gesture to you, like, is this real? What is with this person? Is this really what you want me to do?
You're muted, Matthew.
Oh, sorry. I thought he was asking Bucket that question. He just goes like disbelief, basically, right?
Well, yeah, but it's your contact, so he's looking to you. Like, should I take this seriously?
I don't think it is very rare that Lancaster is not serious. That is something I learned.
Look, I mean, I want to help you out, but I'm not in the business of shooting my allies dead.
I want to make sure you understand this, and I can't go into great detail. There is, perhaps the best way I can put it is that there is a contagion. If I flash the signal to shoot me in the head, it means that I've been infected, and I'm trying to stop the contagion from spreading to anyone else.
And did Daigo sort of nods his head, gestures to Lancaster, and going he's serious. No, sorry, she's serious. She means it.
All right. Well, he accepts that. He says, "All right." Hope it won't come to that. I should get myself in position.
Who's going to be with him?
I guess either Nicholas or Johnny or someone else, because I believe I was, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm good with this. I'll join.
On the roof, cool. And so, sorry, Matthew, where was Daigo going to be positioned exactly? In the bookshop?
I think in the bookshop, where's Lancaster meeting them inside the bookshop, amidst the shelves?
Oh, I'm going to stay as close to the front windows as possible.
Yeah, because you need to be within. In that case, Daigo will tuck himself within the bookshelves, so that he can be, within reach. Just have to.
I will warn Daigo before going in that the shelves are unique. They appear to expand and contract at times. So make sure you have line of sight on the front of the store, or you could become lost in there.
Yeah. The Daigo's approach will be to make like he's looking through books, but will not pick any one of them up for fear of being too distracted. Yeah.
Okay. And where will Marisa be while this happens?
I'll be on the ground in a car out of around a corner.
Okay.
Where
listening for a gunshot, basically.
Well, or something on the radio that indicates that things have gone south.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Daigo, you arrive in the bookshop. You find it seemingly empty. Or maybe you can hear, it sounds like there's someone back in the shelves somewhere. What do you do?
I try to get a sense of the space based on what Lancaster said. So sort of like weaving and between shelves and back and forth, making sure that there are no surprises, not just in terms of like architectural features, but in terms of how the bookstore can respond to us. Sort of like I'm provoking the space.
Well, you'll definitely find that what Mayhem told you is true, that the bookshop seems bigger as you head into the shelves than it should seem from the outside, from what you observed from the outside. It's quite hard to navigate the shelves. There's no particular order that you can identify to the way the books have been shelved. There's no patterns. The rows seem slightly crooked in ways that it's hard to kind of follow.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I think it would be extremely easy to get lost in this bookshop.
Yeah. Now, if I recall correctly, Lancaster will be arriving after the contact, not before. Or is it the other way around?
Unclear. The contact, Mr. Wilde just said that he'd to meet him in an hour.
All right. In
I'm
that
assuming
case,
that you arrived shortly before the hour.
yeah. So, yeah. So what Cardinal does is he is getting himself in these shelves and trying to find out where Wilde, is that its surname, Wilde?
Mm-hmm.
Where Wilde will be coming from, just so that he knows like which space he entered or exited from.
Okay.
I don't want a situation to break out wherein following or avoiding Wilde will be a problem.
Yeah, so I think I'll get you to make a sense trouble test to see if you can work that out. The rules for sense trouble is that you don't find out what the difficulty is before you roll it.
All right. Let's put I'm gonna put a 3 in here. 1d6 plus 3. That's a 7. Not bad.
Right.
Who knows?
So through one of the shelves, you see, you notice some movement. And you see that someone has opened a trap door in the floor of the bookshop, and a figure in a dark trench coat walks up some steps from that basement area, closes the trap door behind him, and then starts heading towards the front of the shop. And from what you've heard, from the descriptions that you've heard, or the photos you might have seen, that's Wilde.
I think what Cardinal does is he's about to follow Wilde so that he can establish contact and set up the situation with Lancaster. But before that, he sort of like approaches the trap door and sort of like reaches out and gently jiggles it just to see like what this is made of, what it is, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, so it's
and where it leads to.
I mean, it's the same sort of wood as the floorboards around it. It doesn't seem to be locked or anything like that. You could pull it up pretty easily. Are you actually going to open it, or are you just like sussing?
Yeah, sort of like gently open it, maybe a couple inches to see where it leads, to get it just enough to get to see where it leads, and then close it immediately and follow.
So I mean, if you just open it that like crack, you'll see that it's quite dark down there. And it looks like some sort of storage space, like pretty much what you would expect from a secondhand bookshop.
All right, make a mental note of that and set up the scene, I guess.
All right. So, Mayhem, do you want to tell us about how you arrive?
I just walk in.
Okay. So you'll see.
I've got people watching my back. There's people on rooftops. There's Marisa in the car.
So you'll see Mr. Wilde waiting for you at the front desk. He looks up and he says, "Mayhem, is it?"
You can call me Mayhem if you like. Some people call me Marie. Generally, Mayhem is my business name.
Well, we are here to do business. I am curious. I know you by reputation. You were a feared warrior on behalf of the rebellion when the Castaigne regime stood. And now, well, you were known. What? You were known for your principle, for your passion, for your drive. And now you shake down small business owners for money. What happened to you?
It's less what happened to me and more that when the regime fell, strangely enough, there wasn't much use for people like me anymore. I have a very specific but limited skill set. I'm good at a few things. I'm exceptional at others, and as far as most of the things that people do that would allow me to earn a living in this world, I don't know the first thing about them. I can't file paperwork, but I can shoot someone in cold blood and sleep just fine.
And that is often a useful skill. I'm not here to make small talk. I have a job. It is of very great importance to me. I am short on reliable agents. And I believe two things about you. I believe that it is true that you are skilled at some things and exceptional at others. And I believe that you have reached a point where you will do for money, well, whatever you have to. That suits me just fine. You asked Mr. Jordan for a certain amount of money for the year.
Yes.
I will pay you that amount if you assist me in this matter. The goal is to retrieve an asset. The asset will be moved from one location, one secure location, to another tomorrow afternoon. There is a narrow window in which we can obtain this asset while it's on the road. I assume that you have associates. I know that one of them interfered with an ally of mine in the street outside this bookshop just yesterday. I trust that you can bring together a suitable crew to assist you. The asset will be moved in a convoy, the asset itself in an armored truck with a security team in front and behind. I'm looking for someone, a group, who can take out the rear security vehicle. Do you think that you could do that?
Need more information. What kind of security vehicles are we discussing here? Sedans, vans, trucks?
There'll be an SUV. There'll be 4 armed men inside.
What kind of weaponry? Or is that unknown?
Weaponry consistent with agents of the provisional government. The kinds of weapons that are typically used by the government agents.
Mm. So the type they took from the regime.
That's right.
My responsibility is solely the rear vehicle, not the armored truck, not the leading vehicle?
Other agents of mine will take out the lead vehicle. I will be responsible for the armored truck itself. Your sole responsibility is the vehicle.
Okay. So I don't need to, obviously that means I don't need to know anything about what the asset is or what the type of cargo is. Since I won't be transporting it, I'll just be making sure that the rear vehicle is clear.
That's correct.
Do you need anything else, such as, well, you'll need to exfil. Do you want us to take care of that vehicle in a way that would inhibit anyone from following or prevent it?
I expect that you will have to kill the occupants of the vehicle in order to stop them. They'll be highly motivated to protect their cargo.
Of course. I'm asking, how much property damage in the surrounding area do you want to make it more difficult to follow you?
I do not expect this to be a problem. The amount of property destruction that is necessary is entirely in your hands.
And I'm just going to smile at that. The kind of smile that should worry anybody seeing it. Very well. What time? And where?
Yeah. So he gives you the address of a warehouse in the industrial district. He says that we will be meeting there at 2 p.m. tomorrow. We'll give out final, mission briefings at that time. And then he says there's one more thing that he has to ask you. Have you seen the yellow sign?
I have no idea what that is. Does it pay?
It pays. He smiles at that question. He hands you a book. It's relatively small. It's bound in red leather. He says, I don't know if you're much of a reader, but I would appreciate it if you could read this before tomorrow. You'll find it extremely useful.
At this point, I'm going to flash the signal to shoot me in the shoulder.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that you don't need to roll for this. Johnny, up on the rooftop, Esau sees the signal, looks at you with an expression of some skepticism, and then turns back to the rifle and puts a bullet through Mayhem's shoulder.
Yeah, I'm not interfering. If he wasn't going to do it, I might have to interfere, but he's on it.
All right. So Wilde hits the floor when the shot is fired. He looks out to the street to see what's going on. What do you do?
I say, shit, and drag him behind a bookcase into cover.
He says, I can't help but notice that you're bleeding quite badly.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll pack it. I'll be fine.
Well, I think this changes things quite substantially. You have enemies shooting at you. Should I be concerned?
And I will point to where he was standing and point out that the bullet should have hit him. Now, I will happily mark Streetwise as an investigative ability for a push to make him believe
that works. Sure. Yeah. He says, well, sorry, I think he'll look like he's seriously concerned about this. He's thinking about something. He says, I have a way to leave this shop without going out through the front. You will not be able to travel that way. Do you have a way to get yourself to safety?
I understand from Bo that the back door doesn't always lead where people expect it to. So, I guess I'm just going to have to make a run for it.
Bo talked more than he should have. But okay, if that's what you want.
I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Wilde.
All right, we'll make sure that you're not followed.
And with that, I'm going to literally draw a pistol, take a look out the front, fire, get to the door in cover, fire a few shots upward, clearly missing Esau, and then, since there's a lot of chaos on the street, try to blend in with the crowd and run.
All right. Daigo, what do you do while all this happens?
I take it I overheard their conversation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And Lancaster is heading out the front.
Mm-hmm.
And which direction did Wilde go?
Wilde heads back towards the trapdoor that he emerged from earlier.
All right. I think I'll follow Wilde through the trapdoor.
Are you trying to sneak behind him, or are you just going to let him know that you're following him?
I think I'll try to sneak behind him.
All right. Well, that will be a.
It's a flat D6.
Yeah. So, I I think it's going to be quite difficult. Like you're walking down into a small. You think that that's a small storeroom down there. You think it would be? I mean, it seems to me that it's going to be quite difficult to sneak into a small storeroom space without somebody seeing you. So I guess I'm thinking a difficulty 6 sneak test.
You know, I'm not sure if I want to get into that much trouble, so I think I'll follow Lancaster outdoor then, but make it like we're all you know, egressing separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything that they want to do, like in or around the bookshop in this scene, or should we assume that you reconvene back at your safe house?
I have nothing else. No, I think
Marisa?
our scouting mission is over.
Marisa?
No, we don't have another lead that I know of.
Okay. The Mayhem, anything else that you wanted to do before reconvening at the safe house?
Not as long as the bust out looked convincing to anybody who might be watching.
I don't think so. I mean, you spent your streetwise push, and I think that like carries over. And Daigo, anything that you were wanting to do? Matthew?
Sorry, I was muted. No, we'll reconvene.
All right. Well, let's take our first break here, and then we'll come back and see what happens next. So we'll come back about 13 minutes past the hour, if that's good.
Works for me.
13, right? You said 1-3.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So you have Matthew. Can you hear? I should wait for you to put your headphones on.
Hello.
Hey. So you have reconvened at the safe house. You've had a chance to talk to each other about what happened. I think that I should probably. No, never mind. You've had a chance to, patch up your shoulder. Well, actually, yeah, I think that someone needs to make a difficulty 4 first aid test to patch up your shoulder.
Medicine. Sorry, sorry for breaking tone there. Sorry for breaking kayfabe. Let's see. Yeah, let's go with 3 on this first aid check. That is a 5.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, probably still hurts, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah, but Esau has a good shot through and through.
Yeah,
Didn't
he
nick
knew
the
what he was
bone.
doing. Has Esau come back to the safe house with you, or have you, is he going to be part of this going forward, or is he gone off now?
I think
personally, as someone who's a member of my network, I think we owe it to him to at least loop him in for just at the minimum a short bit, so that he gets some clarity over what happened.
That's the
If
line
not
we wanted to have.
I disagree. I disagree. I think we need to hold on to him. But I think that he is better served by not knowing what is happening.
Concur.
All right.
Johnny, do you have a vote on this?
I mean, I saw what he did. I think I could operate a rifle like that. I don't know that we need him. I think we just need his rifle.
I love how smooth you are there, Nicholas.
Do you actually say that?
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at you, and I'm going to pat you on the head. And I say, "Oh, you dear thing."
Okay, apparently there's more to it. Amory?
Do you know how to calculate windage?
Oh yeah, no, I know the calculations.
Have you ever done it in a combat situation?
No.
Snipers weaponize math, Johnny.
I mean, that is pretty cool.
Isn't it, though?
So what you're saying is tomorrow's not the best first time for me to be a sniper?
If that's the way you wish to translate it, then yes, absolutely. Another time with some practice, probably several thousand rounds at the range. Perhaps, but not tomorrow.
All right, all right.
Now, I'm curious, do we have any kind of protocol for handling material that may be, for lack of a better term, mimetic contamination?
I imagine we're writing that protocol now.
Yeah, I don't think you've had any reason to establish a protocol like that before now.
No, we have. I have an envelope and tamper-evident tape.
Yeah.
We use it for message passing.
So my question for the group, save Esau, I mentioned the book, that I suspect it is a mimetic contaminant, that it may be one of the things that we have heard about, and that if it's going to look right tomorrow, I may need to know something about the contents of this book. Is it worth the potential contamination?
Of the guarantee of losing an agent?
Well, Marisa, let's be blunt. It's me.
I understand that.
I'm
but
not
you won't
sure
necessarily.
anybody, but
you won't necessarily allow me to shoot you in the head.
No, that'd be Esau's job.
Mm. We don't know what contamination does,
and that's true.
and you're perfectly clever. If you're turned, then you may evade us, and with too much information.
Everything that you've said is accurate and correct.
So, I mean, what's the plan tomorrow anyway?
Well, this is what we need to
we're
figure out.
gonna. Do we know that this package is the mirror?
We don't know what the asset is, just that the asset is in the armored car. And our job is taking out the final car in the convoy.
So just do the job to gain confidence?
What do we think is going on? If this was an attack on a financial institution or something like that, then I would say yes. But what can this highly defended asset be except the mirror? In which case, who has it?
There is no guarantee that it's the mirror. It could be an individual. It could be something else. It could be nothing at all. This could merely be a test.
If it's a real convoy, then it's a heck of a test. Because, well, it exposes either he's completely lying about the amount of assets he has, or else he is expending a great deal of resources just to prove your loyalty. Really? Try again.
If you were trying to find recruits for an organization that's highly secretive,
then I would
to make sure that, and you need to make sure that they are also highly competent. Wouldn't you give them what seems like an insurmountable task, and if they come through it, they've effectively proved themselves?
No, I'd have them. No, I would give them a task to do something that they could do by themselves. To kill a high-placed official, for example. Something that would be very costly for an enemy agent. Not go up against heavily armed guards together, presumably together with others, and lose a lot of friendlies in the process.
I don't think he intends to lose a lot of friendlies.
He's tasked you with going after an armored car full of highly armed people.
Yes,
the likelihood is that you're going to take casualties. So yes. So are you, unless you're saying that he has some way to attack this one without taking casualties, and he's just including you as a test, then I'd say we've already lost this one. And besides, what is the convoy?
Don't know.
It's a huge exposure on his part, even if, do you understand? If he's already got the mirror, then doing something like this is a crazy unnecessary risk.
Indeed.
And he doesn't have that reputation.
No, he does not. Could also be that this is a setup. What I know is that there is a convoy. I am supposed to meet Wilde at a warehouse tomorrow with a crew sufficient to do this job. I would rather, and this may sound a little perhaps slightly odd, I'm sure that I can reach out through my network, and I'm sure we can all make a call or two and get a few, well, I'll be blunt. Get a few lowlifes who are completely expendable, but can put some bullets into the vehicle. So my concern is making sure that people in the caravan don't die, that it looks convincing, but that we preserve them.
Why? Why do you care about the people in the caravan?
Because I suspect that they're friendlies on our side.
Yeah.
And if they are guarding something that needs to be transported in an armored truck, and there's a lead vehicle and a follow vehicle, and they're all heavily armed, they're probably reasonably skilled.
We should really find out if we have a caravan. I suspect it's not ours, but I bet we could confirm that we don't have a caravan.
But in the process, would we tip our hand? Is there an informant in our organization? Would just asking that question raise a red flag?
So I think, sorry, just to interject some setting material, the provisional government is sufficiently sort of fractured and incoherent that it's definitely possible that part of the government might be acting without the part that you're close to knowing about it.
Yeah.
I also just wanted. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say very much left hand, right hand, not knowing what the other is doing.
So I also just wanted to mention, if you want to do some more investigating, then I think there are a few leads that you could consider following up before the convoy. Accounting or bureaucracy, if you go to City Hall, will let you try and find out more information about the ownership of the warehouse or even the bookshop that you've been sent towards. You can, of course, investigate the bookshop itself more. And you also learned that a film producer named Dennis Barbeau has been paying thugs to sort of surveil and protect the bookshop. So there's a few ways that you might be able to dig up some more information before tomorrow, if that's what you want to do.
I think I could look at accounting for that.
I think I think I need to arrange a chance encounter with Mr. Barbeau.
What were you going to say, Johnny?
Daigo, you're using accounting to do what?
Going to City Hall and sort of like track the financials. You might own or have an investment or interest in the bookshop.
And then I will be joining you because I am curious about the warehouse, but I'll be using my bureaucratic contacts or knowledge.
Yeah. Mayhem, what about you? What are you thinking?
I mean, out of character, I'm thinking Mayhem's probably had about enough screen time for a little bit. Give everybody else a chance to do something cool. In character, probably making the rounds of some CD bars, you know, talking with some, you know, slightly skilled lowlifes, that sort of thing, just to make it look good.
Talented never do wells.
Semi-talented.
Well, just, you know,
Full of sponges.
extra, yeah.
Cool. So let's start with Daigo and Johnny at City Hall. So you both start looking up the ownership records around, you know, the bookshop and the warehouse, respectively. You quickly find that it's quite hard to trace, that they're both owned by different sort of shell companies, that there's a complicated paperwork trail, that the ownership in both cases has been deliberately obfuscated. So it takes, you know, definitely a couple of hours of quite painstaking and annoying work to track things down. But eventually what both of you conclude is that the ultimate ownership of both the bookshop and the warehouse rests with the same company. And that is Bolt Enterprises. And you recognize this as the company that was operated by Marisa's late husband, the Castaigne-ite figure that she was undercover with for such a long time.
Late husband, you say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that you know enough. Well, you may have doubts. Marisa, of course, is also supposed to be dead in the same incident. But yeah, he's at least supposedly dead. You can probably from there track down that he has other assets, or this company, sorry, has other assets through the city. You recognize a couple of, you know, like bars where Castaigne-ite types hang out, a few different sorts of like, you know, dodgy locations, as well as what appears to be a home address on the outskirts of the city, where some of the paperwork traces back to.
I mean, you know, and I assume that, you know, Johnny and I share our findings with each other.
Oh yeah.
And I, you know, and Daigo goes like, you know, looking at the address, like, do you think it would be foolish to check up on this?
Oh no, I don't think it would be foolish. I think it would be foolish to ignore it.
Let's say we investigate this further then.
Sounds good.
How do you plan to investigate it further?
I mean, I guess visit address, but probably need some kind of cover, some kind of.
This is the address of the ownership of the warehouse.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait. Oh, yeah. I forgot to. So, do we tell Marisa?
She's not here at City Hall now.
Yeah, she's not with you right now. I mean, your characters might well decide that you want to talk to Marisa about it before you proceed, but your characters aren't with Marisa right now.
Right.
And you know what I love about this alternate setting, Shane, is that if there's no fancy microcomputers, there are no smartphones.
That's right.
No, but we do have a phone. We are in phone contact during the day.
You have a landline. That's right.
A landline. Whoa.
I think we should stake it out. I think it observe the residents for an hour or two, break a window into the basement if we don't see activity, see what we can learn.
Rifle through their belongings.
Are you going to tell me?
Right.
I think it's clear that it's pretty clear that Johnny and Daigo are not.
All right.
I wanted to imagine that we were, but the way we just kept on talking, it was like,
Talk
yeah, it's
ourselves
pretty,
into a
it's-
frenzy.
yeah,
They've
Our
gotten
cat-
excited
Yeah,
about
yeah.
their plan.
No, this is the right thing to do. We got this.
yeah.
Sure.
Our characters are taking us here. I'm sorry, Brandon.
I understand that. You better be prepared to shoot me when you meet me again.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll be the ones who need to be shot. Who knows?
All right. So we'll see what happens with your stakeout a little later.
Perfectly.
But
It's like-
Marisa, you were going to try and arrange to meet Dennis Barbeau.
yes,
How
after
do you... Sorry, go on.
I know people. He has a reputation. I'm sure I know someone who has been to been to a party at his
Sure.
house or something like that.
So you're going to like get a message to him?
Well, I'm going to telephone him from a payphone.
Okay, you're going to call it. Yeah, you call him up from a payphone. I think it'll be a people person push to track down the information.
Okay.
All right. All right. And will you call him
No,
at home or at his office?
I'll borrow wherever I think he's likely to be. I'll go by the public library and do a quick, give myself a quick 15-minute primer on his films.
So he's made some sort of like modest successes, nothing too spectacular.
I understand, but I want to talk about them as if I've seen them, or at least a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean, you probably have seen one or two of them. Like they've been reasonably big releases.
Good.
And definitely with your trivia ability. And you're going to call him just during the day? As opposed to waiting until the evening or something?
Time is fleeting.
All right. So you put a call through to his office. His secretary answers and asks what it is that you want to speak to Mr. Barbeau about.
It's a personal matter. I'm hoping he can help me.
Are you a friend of Mr. Barbeau's?
He was a friend of my husband's.
Can I give him your husband's name?
I'm going to pause for long enough that she knows that I'm to give the impression that I'm wrestling with this information.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him that Marisa Bolt. My name's Marisa Bolt. My husband was Henry Bolt.
Yeah, so she puts you on hold. After a few moments, you hear a man's voice on the phone. He says, "Sorry, my secretary told me that this is Marisa Bolt."
Mrs. Barbeau, we've never met, but I've heard that you might be able to help me. I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry to call you here, and if but I've run out of options.
I have heard of a Marisa Bolt, but she was killed some time ago. I'm not sure how you think you know me or know of me.
They didn't kill me. They tried. They killed Henry.
How is that possible? What is it that you want?
They found out who I am. I've been using an assumed name. And they're coming for me. And I please, you help people sometimes.
I can't imagine who would have told you that. It is hardly the reputation I've cultivated. Look, you will find friends at the Bolt Estate. You remember, of course.
Of course.
This being the same residence that Daigo and Johnny have gone to scope out.
I've been afraid to go there because I've been afraid that they were watching it.
The estate is safe. You'll find many friends there.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without your help. It's flattery, of course.
Sure. He says, well, just be safe and well. The Masquerade will start soon. We all have a great deal to look forward to.
You know, it was the strangest. It was the strangest thing. I wanted to. I was fixing my makeup, and I found that I had run out of lipstick. My favorite shade, you know. That's this vermilion shade that I love, and I asked Henry to stop the car, and he didn't want to. He said we were putting ourselves in danger and that we had to get out of the city as soon as possible. But I made him stop. And then when I was in the store when gunfire broke out.
I'm very sorry. Your husband was a great man.
Yeah. Went out the back. I ran. I've been staying with one acquaintance or another, but people are starting to look at me in ways I don't like.
Have you changed physically?
No, it hasn't. I look in the mirror and I seem older. But I saw the newspaper reported I was dead, and I thought, that's good. They won't be looking for me. But somebody must have said something. I've been using a false name, but my tea's not very good.
You need not fear. Our hour is at hand. The events of the next few days will redeem our sacrifices, your losses.
I wish Henry were here.
Henry will be there.
Please don't say that. I can't bear it. Please don't say that.
Perhaps your husband was not as forthcoming with you as he might have been. I mean no disrespect, but you will see Henry again. We all will.
If you're talking about the afterlife, I'm afraid I've lost my faith in that.
He laughs at that. The afterlives of you. Forget the afterlives of which you've heard. Go to the estate now. Everything that you need to know will be made clear to you there.
All right. Thank you.
Very well. And what do you do after you get off the phone?
I put in a call back to the safe house. Nobody answers, I presume.
I think that's probably right.
And so I'm going to make my way to the estate.
All right. So Mayhem, you've just been rounding up some ne'er-do-wells who might be disposable tomorrow.
Oh, they're absolutely disposable. I'd shoot them myself if I didn't need them.
Just for practice.
No, because they need to be shot. I'm not hiring. I'm not finding people that anyone will miss.
Yeah.
Lancaster's roughing up these hooligans is the musical interlude that happens between Marisa's scene and RC.
No, I'm not even roughing them up. I'm just like making. This is one of those things where it's like, you know, who's the hardest man in here? Let's go outside. I've got a job. I want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
See if you can punch me, type thing.
Absolutely. Where the verbal contents of the scene aren't as relevant as the actions that are very obvious to us from, seeing it.
And you know why? Because this is one of those things when you need a montage.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's literally just a montage of Mayhem walking around places, going into bars. Sometimes she brings somebody out. More often she doesn't. There's a couple of people who have kind of fallen in with her. So she's obviously getting a crew of people together.
All right. Sounds good. So Johnny and Daigo, is the plan just to like pull up a car near the estate and watch, or what are you doing?
For a couple hours, yeah.
Yeah.
Stake it out.
So I think that will be a difficulty 4 sneaking test.
It's not going to be me, is it?
Just one of you needs to make the test. You don't both need to.
I can assist you with 0 points, Johnny.
I'm pretty good at this, so I'm driving. I've handed you the newspaper and said, "This is part of sneaking. You hold the newspaper." And I will put 2 points into that.
I hold it upside down. Just kidding. I hold it upside down and then you write it up.
Oh, and I have to add a d6, not just the modifier.
The classic.
That's a 4.
All right. So you find a discreet spot where you can watch the front of the estate. It's a big house on a large grounds. It's about 3 stories. You can see there's at least a couple of entrances. Let's see. You can definitely tell that there are people inside. Like there's, occasionally you see someone pass a window or something like that. If you wait a couple of hours, then towards the end of that time, you'll see a man in what looks like some sort of hotel uniform, like almost like a bellhop or something like that, wheel a large sort of wheeled suitcase or trunk out the front door, awkwardly navigate it down the steps, and load it into the back of a vehicle, a car out the front. Do you intervene? What do you want to do?
What do you think that is?
I'm not sure. When he rolls out this sort of like a luggage case, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
A luggage case on one of those pull things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't make any noise. No, nothing anomalous.
I mean, you're in a car across the street. I don't think you could really hear like noise coming from it. It doesn't, like, there's nothing that stands out about about the way he's wielding it.
I think I'll wait it out to see what else he does, but at the same time, sort of like take a note of the make and model and license of the car.
All right. So he loads it into the trunk. He gets in the driver's seat and he starts driving away.
Look to the windows, sort of see like if there's anybody else left in the house or anything else that's going on in the windows.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely think that there's like at least a number of people inside. You don't think he was alone in there. So presumably there are still some people inside. You want to follow him? Because if you don't now, then you're going to miss that opportunity. But of course, that's welcome. If that's what you want to do.
Yeah, you know, before Johnny, like, I mean, this might surprise you, but Daigo starts up the engine and proceeds to follow Car.
Wait, I thought we established that Johnny was in the driver's seat. So
yeah.
Oh, you did. Oh, you were in the driver's seat. I'm so sorry.
I was, yeah.
Okay, then I guess
when you nudge me to follow,
up to you then.
when you nudge me to follow, I do turn over the engine and start following, and start saying, you know, the problem is we don't even know what's in that trunk. This mirror could be anywhere. It could be in that trunk. It could be somewhere else. It's like we're chasing shadows here.
It is true that we are chasing shadows, but there are many questions or no questions that can be answered by following this man. We get to find out why he left this place at such an strange hour. Well, I don't mean strange as in it's late in the day. I just mean like what the events are going on right now and what reason they would have to leave. What is in the case, what it is that needed to be, or that they wanted to take out from there, and who they could possibly be meeting on the other side. It's not so much that it's more that we, even if we don't know where the shadow ends, at the very least it can give us some information about what's going on back there.
I mean, I'm curious enough that we're following him right now, so let's see where this goes.
So I think just again a difficulty 4 sneaking test to see if you can follow him without being noticed.
I will put 2 more points into that. That's for 4 total.
Learning a little bit, Daigo puts away the newspaper, opens the glove compartment, and takes out a road map.
So we'll pick that up. We'll come back and pick up you guys following him to a destination. But
okay.
Marisa, after the phone call, you head to the estate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I guess you arrive like not too long after these guys have driven away. What do you do?
So this is an estate. It's got a fair setback from the road.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to play frightened. So I'm going to drive and be there on the opposite side of the road in front of the estate, and wait for, a long minute or two,
Mm-hmm.
And get spotted. And then I'm going to turn into the drive and drive a little too slowly up the drive.
There's no reaction from the house or from anyone in it.
I'm going to park in the space where Henry habitually parked the car.
Okay.
And I'm going to open the door, and I have a big hat on that conceals my features. And I am acting furtive.
Okay.
Playing to the hilt the amateur, who is kind of, has learned how to survive by her wits, but who is afraid she's walking into the mouth of the beast here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make my way up to the front of the estate. I'm gonna take out my keys. I'm gonna drop them. pick them back up, find the door key again, and open the door.
Before you do that, do you want to make a sense trouble check?
Yeah. Seven.
All right. You have an extremely bad feeling about the estate. As you push, you bring the keys towards the door lock, you have an overwhelming intuition that it would be a mistake to open the door. That there's something inside there that you're not ready for.
There's contamination inside, I imagine.
Yeah.
I'm going to have I'm going to act the last moment reconsidering.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to knock, and then lift up my hand to knock, and then don't. And dither for a moment, and then turn and step away from the door. I'm going to I can't even look inside. Something can be transmitted by writing. It can be transmitted presumably by other visual things. I don't know. What do I guess I can do without putting myself in a trap?
Well, that is a good question. I mean, if you're concerned about the possibility of hearing or seeing things, then I'm not sure that there is much that you could do.
Is it just something? I mean, I'm going to have an inexpert look around.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean around the grounds or around like in the window? You said you don't want to look in the windows, or
I'll look in a window, but
okay.
I'll try to be.
Yeah.
I won't look too hard at anything I don't understand immediately.
Okay. So what you'll see, there's a quite large sort of open area near the front of the house, like a very large entryway with like marble floor, some columns. Yeah, it's quite garish.
Yeah, I know the layout of this house.
Like just through the window, without looking too closely, as you glance in, you notice two figures. They're sort of down on their knees or on all fours, it looks like. They're attentive to something at the far end of the room that you can't see from where you are. And at least one of them, well, actually both of them, I think you can see, are sort of crouched over typewriters that are sat on the floor. And they're slowly picking away at the keys.
Like they were taking dictation almost.
Very much like that. Although their posture is more sort of like, you wouldn't expect someone ordinarily, in an office who is taking dictation to be in such a sort of prone position.
Yes. I'm going to I'm going to knock, and then I'm going to back away from the door.
Okay.
And to one side, like, in a sort of posture that says, I could make a break for my car if I had to.
All right. Well, let's come back to you in a minute. I assume that Mayhem continues the montage. Is there anything that you want to get in here, Pocket, about what you're doing?
Do I notice anybody following me?
You do not. I mean, with your streetwise, I think that you would be pretty confident in saying if someone was following you, and it's just not happening.
Okay. So either they're trusting me or they're waiting for me to show up tomorrow to see whether I've seen the yellow sign or whatever, if I've read this book. Okay. I'm just carrying on my business because everybody else in the group is competent, and I trust that they are doing whatever they need to be doing.
Right.
I am curious, though. I'm metagaming a tiny bit here. Daigo, how comfortable do you think Esau would be talking to me about an operation? Was that something that you would have okayed as network?
I think the group that Esau and Daigo are from are pretty, I wouldn't say loose-lipped, but they're pretty free about speaking about what they've done in the resistance and stuff. So, yeah, to a certain extent, he will discuss not necessarily operations in detail, but rather the things that they've done.
Point being, I could discuss the operation that's going down tomorrow with him, and he's trusted.
Yeah, especially if it's since you're speaking from a perspective of talking about a future operation, then I think that's fair game, since it's not like you're trying to pry information from him that you don't already have.
Yeah. And I basically, I think what's going on there is I'm probably sitting with him at some point for a few minutes and giving him the broad strokes of it.
Yeah.
Not talking about, basically just saying there's something going down tomorrow. I can't tell you everything that we know. We have to compartmentalize operational security, you understand.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
But I could use you on a rooftop with your rifle.
I'm good for that.
And this time I won't even ask you to shoot me.
I mean, that is my preference.
And I think he and I will share a chuckle over that. And, that's probably about the time that I'll bring the ne'er-do-wells who I've decided are sufficiently skilled and sufficiently dispensable to be in on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, I've made sure to tell Esau, don't tell him anything about who you are, where you've been, anything like that. Stay silent. They don't need, if they see you, that's enough. You just polish your rifle or do whatever it is that you do to let people know that you are a serious person who is not to be trifled with. And if they decide that they want to comment about it, I will deal with it.
Understood.
Beyond that, we're just tooling up. I'd forgotten to ask whether weapons would be provided at the scene tomorrow, so I'm assuming that we are all bringing our own gear. So
yeah, I think he probably would have relayed that to you.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you a question. Have you decided whether or not you'll be reading the book before the mission?
I believe that's something that we need to discuss as a team and decide as a team.
Cool.
Which is why I mentioned it when Daigo and Johnny and Marisa were all present. I'm assuming that they're all thinking about it as we are doing our various things.
All right. Well, look, it's just on the hour now, so let's take another 10-minute break here, and we'll come back and see what happens next.
I'm back from break, Shane.
All right. Well, we're back. Everyone good to continue? All right. So, Johnny, you follow this gentleman. He drives. He seems to be driving out of the city. You want to keep following him?
I think we could run him off the road and make this a little bit more exciting. What do you say?
Out of character, I will absolutely not refuse. I will absolutely not refuse
In
running.
character.
Yeah, in character. Yeah. I think Daigo is not opposed to taking action in this situation.
Yep. So I wait until we have like a fairly empty spot on the road, something ideally with trees where you can like pull up beside, crash into him sideways, and run him off the road into an abrupt stop.
Daigo braces himself and puts on a seatbelt as well.
All right. So I think this is going to be relatively tough. Maybe this is a difficulty 6 driving test.
Am I any good at driving? Now's the time to find out. Oh, I was decent at driving.
Well, maybe I can offer you 3 points.
Well, how are you going to help with this though?
I think in this situation,
Grab the wheel.
well, I was gonna say, Johnny will be driving, right? And he's gonna do everything the normal way with the brakes and the clutch and everything like that to spin the car or whatever in position. Meanwhile, at the last second, Daigo reaches for the parking brake, emergency brake, to course correct the stunt.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
I buy that. So you're putting in, if you put in 3 points, that'll add 2 points to the pool.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because, right.
And I'll put in 1 point, so that's 3 points total.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Roll high, come on. 6.
All right. So you successfully knock him to the side of the road, force him to stop. Probably put him into a ditch a little bit. Neither of you are too badly hurt in the collision. What do you do?
Jump out, weapons drawn, and we have to take care of this guy. Come on.
Yeah. Daigo does not jump out, simply opens the door and pops out standing from sort of like a standing firing position. Very I guess what approximates a very professional maneuver.
Yeah. So this guy, I think that he's pretty rattled. He's maybe hit his head in the collision. He's not injured, but he's not rushing out of the car either.
Yeah.
We're gonna tear open the driver's side door, pull him out, and try to push him against the ground.
So he's muttering, groaning, complaining. What the hell? But you get him down. And
I motion without saying Daigo's name.
Yeah.
Get over here.
Yeah, so while Johnny is taking care of this guy physically, I think what Daigo does is heads over and gets the keys. And if he can't find the keys, we'll do something else. But basically get the keys and head to the back and pop the trunk open while
and then open
Johnny's
up the luggage?
occupied. Yeah.
All right. Well, what does Johnny say to this guy while Daigo is trying to get into the back?
He says, well, first, don't move. I got a gun to the back of your neck. You don't want any funny business. Now, tell me, what is it that you're transporting?
He looks. He kind of grunts. What transporting? What are you talking about?
Slam him into the
Listen,
ground.
Hey,
Nice.
I'm not trying to. There's no need. Oh. And at this point, I think Daigo will get the suitcase open. And you find that there is a large amount of climbing equipment in there. You know, ropes, carabiners, things like that.
Planning a trip.
What do you mean? What do you mean he's planning a trip?
No, I mean, like, I'm asking the guy, like, what's this, like, this equipment, planning a trip, to the summits.
The what is this? What's going on?
I pull him up off of the ground and keep myself behind him with the gun pointing at the back of his head, and say, Daigo.
Well, not my name.
Oh, sorry. What is your name? Oh, yeah. No. Surely we have aliases, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Of course.
What did you find?
Man's packing a lot of mountaineering equipment.
You think this is a dead end?
Well, I am basically Daigo's paranoid, right? And so what he says is, I don't think it's a dead end necessarily. This equipment could mean that he has further business to pursue up in the mountains associated with the people assembled at that house.
Yeah, he starts sputtering about like he'll give you money. Like, what do you want?
What do you know about Bolt Enterprises?
The Bolt Company? What do you mean?
I mean, spill it. What do you know?
Yeah. So he starts telling you like general sort of corporate information. They have a lot of real estate holdings. They do this and that. They're involved in some experimental computer stuff. He just works at the house. He doesn't really know that much about their business.
And what is happening? And what is happening at the house today?
I mean the usual. Can I show you something?
Sure. I mean, if you're asking me out of character or in character.
He asks your character.
Sure.
Yeah. No sudden moves, but yeah, sure. Like he can show us something.
All right. So he says, "I'm just going to reach inside my pocket. It's okay." So he reaches into his pants. He takes his wallet out, and he removes a card from it, and he shows you both a symbol that you haven't seen before, and you'll both need to make composure tests.
Would I recognize?
Sorry, recognize it. If you recognize the symbol, then it's too late already.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, my brain was like, yeah, no problem.
My brain was screaming at you, but
go ahead. I'll get you just one at a time to make difficulty 4 composure tests.
All right, let's do it.
I'm putting 2 points into that. I'll let you roll first.
Sure. I'm just trying to remember where I am on the notes. Oh, there you go, composure. I'm going to spend 3 on this. So, yeah, I'm ready to roll.
Go ahead.
That's a 9 on my part.
So that's an extra bonus for you on our house rule. We'll talk about that in a minute. And go ahead, Johnny.
That's a 5.
So both of you recognize that there's something strange and uncanny about this symbol, but whatever it is, sort of passes over you. Matthew, do you have an idea about what sort of extra bonus you'd like? I mean, I think it might be just that he spills everything that he knows.
Yeah, I think that's a logical bonus.
I'm gonna snap the card out of his hand and stuff it into like a lapel pocket. something where we don't see it anymore, because I'm sure like the creepy crawlies went up our necks when we saw that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And we feel it. Do we feel like this sort of like unsettling dread or fear, like it's just going to the front of our heads? Am I right?
I mean, I think the fear is everywhere. The
fear is.
feeling.
I mean, the fear is everywhere. I'm just trying to get all visceral in my. But yeah, you were saying.
So he starts by saying, like, he sees that you've seen the sign. He looks like he's trying to gauge something, and then he says, "I'm not going up any mountains. I'm going down. The Masquerade starts soon, and I think I found a way. I can show you if you want."
Found a way where?
Well, to the Masquerade, to the ball, to the palace.
What do you think, Johnny? We're going to take this guy's word and.
Yeah, you get in the passenger seat with him. I'll sit behind him.
All right.
All right, and then you'll let him lead the way.
Yeah,
I think you're jumping in his vehicle.
It might be damaged though.
Yeah, how's his vehicle look?
I think like it's got a big like dent in the side, but it'll drive. So you're all going in his vehicle. You're not going to take both cars.
I think that's appropriate, don't you? That we take one vehicle.
Yeah.
Park this one on the side of the road. Come back for it later this evening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll come back to you and we'll see where he takes you, I think. Marisa, so you knocked at the door and you sort of stepped to the side ready to run if that's what you decided to do.
Yes.
So after a few moments, a butler opens the door and you recognize him. It's the butler that, you know, the head of the service staff who was here when you lived here. He does not. Sorry, go on.
Yes. He does not.
He doesn't seem to recognize you immediately, but then a flash of recognition, and he gasps, "Marisa, I thought you were dead."
Barlow. I was so afraid.
Well, come inside. You can hear from behind him there is a loud voice echoing from the far side of that large open room in the front of the house. You can't quite make out what it's saying at this point, but you think if you were to go inside, you would be able to hear what was being said.
Which I don't want to do. Barlow, what's going on? I've heard.
Come inside, Marisa. You must have an incredible story.
Would you come out, please?
You should come inside, Marisa. There is a wonderful story unfolding.
What? A man said that I might see Henry again.
No,
but I don't understand how that's. I think he meant it, but it's
true, Marisa.
He didn't have a reason to toy with me.
It's true, Marisa. A great miracle approaches. Please come inside and let me share it with you.
I'm scared.
He will take away the fear.
They're all dead. Everybody I knew and of the loyalists are dead. Just a few friends who were of no particular importance that the resistance passed over, but I'm not sure that I can trust them anymore.
Marisa, your presence makes clear there are many who we thought we had lost who have survived.
I tell them the story about, the same story about the narrow escape.
Mhm.
I've been hiding since then. I guess up until recently, they've not considered it important enough to look for me.
After tomorrow, it won't matter.
They must have put out the story. It won't? What's happening?
Come inside, Marisa. Yeah, everything will be clear.
How do I know I can trust you, Barlow?
We've known each other for years. What do you mean?
People I thought I could trust have changed their minds. Two of them were good enough to tell me that they couldn't keep me safe any longer, but one I tried to capture me, and I hit him with an ashtray and ran.
Laughs at that. You're always feisty, Marisa. You have nothing more to fear. You have many friends inside this house. Just come inside. He looks out into the street and he says, "It may not be safe to stay here. The house may be under some surveillance."
If the house is under surveillance, then I might as well lie down and die. I was hoping that after all this time they were looking. That's what he said. That's what Barpo said. He said.
Who told you to come? Well,
he said that they weren't watching the house anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't know who to call.
Perhaps he was unclear. It may well be that they watch the house. It just doesn't matter anymore. There's nothing they can do to stop us.
They could. What if they raid the house?
Come inside and let me show you our defenses. We will be quite safe.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to come inside, is there something else that I can do for you?
Tell me how I can see Henry again.
It's not possible for me to explain in words. You'd have to experience for yourself the revelation.
I've lost my faith, Barlow. I used to believe that God had a plan for us, but I don't anymore.
Forget God. What is that? We're not dealing in superstitions anymore.
I look a little shocked. But now, we don't know how this mimetic thing is transmitted. Obviously,
not in detail, yeah.
No. Do I guess that if I contrive to plug my ears somehow, that it might protect me? I've stayed alive by my
try
wits.
that. Yeah, you have intuition as an investigative ability.
Yeah.
I think you feel that you'd still be in some danger because obviously that wouldn't protect you from visual imagery.
Right, but I can control to some degree what I see, or at least what I see clearly. Okay, I said let me get my bag.
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the car, and I'm going to get my bag, and in the process, I'm going to get some tissue out of my bag, and I'm going to stop up my ears.
All right, and presumably you don't want the butler to notice you do that.
No, I mean, I'm, right. I mean, I pop the trunk and root around in there, so that there's a visual obstruction.
Sure. So I think still a difficulty 4 sneaking test for him not to notice that at all.
Okay. Nine.
Okay, so an extra benefit of some kind. So
no, it's right. Next benefit, I guess, which is, I don't know, no suspicion, whatever.
Sure.
Or my measure is highly effective.
Yeah, and I won't make you make any other tests about whether you can avoid seeing something that's dangerous.
Right. Well, I'm doing for fiction's sake.
Mm-hmm.
For fiction's sake, I dab my eyes with I get a tiny bit of motor oil on one glove, and I dab my eyes.
Okay. So he will then lead you inside, and in that large open space,
I'll just be, I'll be a shaking leaf, almost. I mean, just keeping it together.
Yeah, so you can't really hear what he's saying, but you can see that he's talking to you. From his expression, it seems like he's trying to, console you.
I'd lean my head into his shoulder. I act. I mean, nothing, untoward. Just a little bit of pressure, and I act as if I'm just overcome by this. I mean, in other words, that I can't. This has been such an exhausting thing, and this is such a new and disorienting experience that I'm scarcely attending.
And so the first thing that you'll notice, I
look at his face to see if I can, fill in a little bit when I can't hear, but otherwise I'll take my cues from him. Yeah.
Yeah. So as he leads you into the main room, he stops talking as you can hear that this booming voice, becomes louder as you approach it. You still can't make out what's being said. The main impression that you have with your ears blocked up and, being careful with your vision is the terrible smell of this room. It smells like urine and feces. And as you enter, you see that there are several dozen of those crouched figures that you'd seen before. Some of them perched over typewriters, some of them writing by hand. All of them, as you said, taking dictation from the front of the room. It seems that none of them have left these spots in days or longer. They've been just using the floor as a toilet around them. Servants are sometimes bringing them in glasses of water or other meals so that they can eat and drink without leaving their stations. And they're taking dictation from a huge black mirror that stands at the far end of the room. A voice echoes out from it, although you can't make out what it's saying. What do you do?
I pass out.
All right.
I mean, I faint. I don't quite pass out, but my eyes roll up and I sag into Barlow's hands.
Right. He will sort of lead you over, half drag, half carry you over to a chair where you can be sat down. He'll start to, call your name to attend to you. He'll sort of probe at your face, and it seems like he's getting close to the tissue paper wadded up in your ears as he does that.
I'm gonna. I'll come to enough and brush his hand away reflexly, and then
You can see that he's repeating your name.
I say to him, you have to let me. You have to give me a chance to understand.
I think at this proximity, you can read his lips quite easily, and he
Yes.
says, "Just listen, and all will become clear."
It's awful in here, but yes, I understand.
He smiles broadly as you say that you understand.
Thank you, Bravo.
Right. So I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Mayhem. Back at the safe house, the phone line that. So yes, last session Marisa set a tap on the bookshop phone line, and the phone that tap connects to rings.
Interesting. What the hell? I'll grab a pen and a piece of paper and start taking some notes.
All right. So you recognize Wilde's voice. You're not sure who it is that he's talking to, but they are discussing logistics around the asset that they'll be retrieving tomorrow. The other voice seems concerned that they've had to move their schedule forward, that the time window is narrower than they wanted. Wilde is reassuring them. He says that he's been able to hire some strong assistants. He has every confidence. And he starts to make, some more sort of, it breaks away from that sort of dry, technical, logistical discussion. And they become more ideological in what they're saying. And, Wilde makes some remarks along the lines of, this provisional government talks so much about freedom and human rights, but they've kept him prisoner in secret for almost 6 months now. Tomorrow we will undo this grave injustice. And the person on the other end of the phone concurs. And they finish the conversation by saying to each other that they'll see, each of them says to the other, "I'll see you at the Masquerade." And the call ends.
I draw my fingers on the desk for a moment. Turn to Esau and say, "You know where you can get some explosives?"
Do you want to make a preparedness test?
Oh, why not?
How big an explosion are we talking about?
And I'm assuming that by this point we've basically dismissed all the other goons and just said, meeting at this address at this time. So Esau, how much do you know about explosives?
Sort of, gives a little a little bit gesture.
Got any idea how much the type of explosives it would take to blow up an armored truck and destroy it?
So yeah, he talks to you a little bit about the logistics. Certainly he thinks it would be challenging to get your hands on that much explosive on short notice.
Okay, so define challenging.
I think just a difficulty 4 preparedness or insurgency test.
Okay, so I think I'll roll with insurgency on this one.
Cool.
And just to make it fun for you, I'm going to put all 4 of my insurgency points on that roll.
Nice.
Can I put some preparedness points on there too?
Yeah, if you want.
Do we pick? When do we next pick? When do we pick up with our next?
Oh yeah.
Book?
So I think that because we're going to have to cut this series short by one session, we'll finish this series up in the mid next session, and then make characters and start the next one.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to spend all my preparedness too. So I'm starting with +8.
All right. Let's just roll it for the sake of it. Let's see how big
just for the sake of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I spent all.
Wow. Okay. Do you have in mind now an extra that you want for your role, or do you want to think about it and we can work it out later?
Lots more expensive.
I want that truck vaporized.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, I want people to see atoms floating in air from it.
Okay.
I want his truck dead.
I want it burned to the ground. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think that the other thing that we'll talk in terms of a benefit, you'll equip it well enough that you're not going to have to make any further tests to affix it to the truck or anything like that.
Or saving those to get clear.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. Certainly, you'll be able to attach it to the truck or get it onto the truck or whatever you need to do. All right. So we'll come back to you now. Daigo and Johnny, your friend, I don't remember if we gave him a name or not, drives you down to a spot not far outside the city limits on the Hudson. And you can't really see anything around except for a rusted out old car that's just been sitting there. And he takes you down, he opens the trunk, and when you look into the trunk of the car, you see a very, very deep, dark hole. Far deeper and far darker than could plausibly be in the back of this old car. And then he looks at you both expectantly.
Johnny pulls the trigger and shoots him in the head.
Wow, I was thinking the same thing.
All right. I mean, I don't think you need a test for that. He's not resisting or armed or anything. And then what?
Push the body in the hole, look to Daigo and say...
You see, Daigo already had his pistol in his hand.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a dead end, and I just... to the safe house.
Sorry, you just froze for a sec. What was that? I think you're still frozen.
Oh, close the trunk, turn to Daigo, and say, well, that was a dead end. Time to head back to the safe house.
All right. Daigo, are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, I mean... yeah. No worries for me. A literal dead end.
All right. Marisa, what will you do?
I'm going to wait an interval. And not a very long interval. And then I'm going to contrive a reason to get out of there. I mean, I'll go to the go to the laboratory.
Yeah, I think people personal flattery work for that, just to create an excuse to get out.
Yes, I just need some air. I mean, the air is incredibly faded, so that helps. And if anybody asks me, it's like I need to go get. I have my. I didn't bring any clothes. I'll be back. Thank you.
All right.
And I'm going to leave and head back to the safe house.
Yeah, so I mean, it's clear that the butler looks quite surprised at the idea that you need to fetch clothes, but he's not going to stop you from leaving. So you all.
I mean, I said clothes, and he looked surprised, and I said, and it's my whole. I don't want to go where we're going without my things. That's all I have left. And it may not matter to you, but it matters to me.
He says something inaudible.
I'm going to act as if, he said something important and just basically, lower my gaze. And I said, you don't understand. If I'm going to see Henry again, I don't want him to see me as I am now. And I know, even if things are different as they are, you wouldn't understand. You're not a wife.
So you can see that he still has a somewhat confused expression on his face.
Well, he can be confused. That's fine. I'm going to leave.
All right. Cool. So the four of you and Esau, I think, meet up back at the safe house. Do you want to talk about your plans here, or should we wrap up here for this week? What do people think?
There's one thing that I do want to do now that everybody's back.
Mm-hmm.
So any thoughts on whether I should open up that book?
I don't think you should.
Yeah.
Marisa looks you right in the eye and says, kill yourself first.
If I kill myself first, then I can't look at the book.
No, that's what I mean.
And I'll just.
I know where the mirror. And I say, I found the mirror.
Well, that kind of matches what we were hearing. There was a call that came in on the tap, and apparently, what's being transported tomorrow is not a something; it's a someone. And Daigo, I have to say, you really know how to find talent, don't you? And I think I'll just kind of like pull back the corner of a blanket to show the party favors that Esau and I have managed to acquire in the past hour or so. And I say, we're going to leave a crater in the streets of New York tomorrow. Whatever is in that truck, rather, whoever is in that truck, well, that crater is their final destination.
I don't really, I don't really find good talent. I simply have the honor of knowing people.
And I look at Esau and say, has he always been this modest, or is he just showing off?
That seems like a good spot to leave it for this week. So I will just stop the recording here.